So it was a pretty good, eventful Sunday in the NFL. Great primetime win by the Patriots, but also to a great win by my now nemesis for the week as the New Orleans Saints get a great win against the New York Giants. So we're gonna jump into the games head first because the Giants are taking on the Eagles tomorrow night, Thursday Night Football, from the Meadowlands. But I wanted to ask you, what did you see from the Giants Sunday that either gave you pause or gave you a little bit of confidence in them as a team? Not like confidence, but like, where you're like, hey, here's some things to watch for with the Giants.
They looked really good in the first quarter or so. Went up really quickly on us. Um, but beyond that, they definitely had struggles after that. Lots of turnovers. I think it's more of a product of them more than a product of us. Um, I mean, young quarterback Jackson Dart, and I think if I remember correctly, the game that he won the week prior, they got a lot of turnovers towards
Yes.
the end there, and he had really good field position. He was able to capitalize on the great field position to win. So they were kind of put in a position to be able to win that game in favorable circumstances and whatnot. But yeah, they didn't even get a sack on us, which was kind of surprising. But I did see this one interesting stat, and I guess this is kind of about the Saints and the Giants at the same time. The Giants' 17 pressures in this game were the most pressures without a sack by any defense this season. So that was pretty interesting. So they got a lot of pressures, but Rattler was able to actually maintain and hold his own out there. But yeah, I didn't get a really good litmus test on the Giants because they just were not there at the game pretty much after the first quarter.
Yeah, the big thing with me with them with that game, it just kind of seemed like they had some chances to not take over the game, but kind of establish their footprint and their marking. But whenever they did, they kind of had the right chances to, screw it up, and they did, which then gave the Saints perfect leeway to go in and win that football game. Saints making some good defensive plays when they needed to from contributors, and more or less the secondary, because that's all. Like I've been seeing too many Saints games this year footage, but I just know if the pass rush can get home, it's good. But also too, if you do make mistakes against that secondary, like, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, that they can make you pounce for it. So that's what I feel like the the Giants really did. They really when you shoot yourselves in the foot, because, and we'll talk about the team in a little bit, but actually, you know what? I'm going to save my Saints take for when we get to our game because it's a little bit here. But I'm going to
Mhm.
keep this one simple for tomorrow night: Philadelphia, New York. Eagles got caught playing with their food a little bit. That's an expression I like, where it's just like kind of
Yeah,
like what Buffalo did, what Buffalo's done the last few weeks against the Saints, and then ultimately last Sunday night against the Patriots,
true.
where hey, oh, this game's not this, oh, this game's not that. So, you kind of just take it in stride and go as you may. And then before you know it, you snap your fingers and you lose. And so for this game really for both teams, for the Eagles, it's more or less how good are you when you're a 7.5 point favorite in a divisional game. But the Giants, too, this is the ultimate difference between your season potentially, you know, like actually, I was going to use on driving metaphor. I'm going to use a plane metaphor. It's the difference between smooth sails through the air and turbulence for the rest of the year. I think this is a real turning point game for them. So I think the Giants cover the number, but I think the Eagles get a win. Like, where it's like the cheeky Eagles being the cheeky Eagles that they've been all season.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. I would definitely ride with the Eagles there. Um, yeah, not much to really add to that. But yeah, I kind of agree with you, um, especially on that Bills part. But we can get to that later too. But yeah, these really good teams have to come out there and not really, like you said, play with their food and actually go out there and execute and play up to their level and not play down to their opponents.
But before we get to Sunday's games, we have some college football news that broke today. I know, obviously, look, your coach Sam Pittman was fired a couple weeks ago, which from watching the SEC show, I kind of got the inklings that it was not inevitable, but like it kind of seemed like, hey, if Arkansas didn't play the cards right, that it would have happened. But some very interesting reporting today coming out of Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Drake Maye's alma mater and current North Carolina head coach Bill Belichick, where apparently His communication with the staff in the past 2 weeks has been described as weird and distant by multiple members of the coaching staff. Multiple coaches were unable to get a hold of him during UNC's bye week. From one UNC defensive assistant, what we've done to these kids is fucked up. And then another one, apparently Bill Belichick has discussed buyout options with the hierarchy at North Carolina. Bill Belichick has signaled a willingness to trigger his own $1 million buyout if he can find a soft landing with another team or in media. Members of and that's where it kind of goes to the other thing too, where members of Belichick's coaching staff have already spoken to other schools that are expected to be in the CFP playoff about taking on roles during the postseason. From one coach, the Rats are leaving the ship. Some staffers believe change will come in the next 2 weeks. There's other stuff too about recruiting violations, players getting in trouble, because apparently players get tickets for every game in college football, but there's been players who have been caught selling tickets. So I think for him, it's more or less just the downfall of Belichick the last 5 years, from being this like all-time great coach to like mediocrely weighing the Patriots to this. I think he's just kind of realizing that college isn't the NFL, which I feel like we rarely see this, where, a lot of guys go from like college to the NFL and it doesn't work out. I feel like though with this one, you rarely see it's, hey, from the NFL to college and it doesn't work out. Because kind of like I want to give an example. Matt Rule, who went to the NFL, didn't work out, goes back
Yeah.
to Nebraska. Apart from having Patrick Mahomes as clone quarterback, he's made it work in Nebraska. So it's a very weird situation, but at the same time too, you can't. I think you're learning. Who is it? You can't treat a college team like the NFL. And I remember in the NBA, there was an example years ago with the Cavaliers where a college coach went to the Cavs, treated it like a college ship, and he was fired within the first like 2 or 3 months of the season. So I think there's just that like dynamic of it all where it's like, hey, you can do this, but you can't do that. But he never saw the fine lines between, to where now I think his ego stepping back and realizing, oh, hey, I just got my cheeks clapped by Dabble Sweeney, who's having a down year. So, it's just, I just want to talk about that, because obviously, look, yeah.
5 games in, that is wild, man. Didn't even really give it the good college try, but I mean, at the end of the day, if your heart's not in it, your heart's not in it, and it's best to get out while you still can. And that's just crazy. Think about all these kids that he might have gone out and recruited and got to come to North Carolina because, I get to play with the great Bill Belichick.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's probably going to be out of there. That's wild to think about. Man, that's wild.
They play next Friday night at Cal, and then they go to Virginia, Syracuse, Stanford, Wake Forest, Duke, and then they finish with NC State. It's very weird, because also the other thing with college football too, I don't think a lot of people realize, you're dealing with parents for as much as you're dealing with players. Because NFL, like if a mom or dad says, "Oh, you're not playing my son," right? The NFL coach is going to be like, "Okay, go fly a kite," like fuck off, But in college, these are still kids at the end of the day. 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old boys who are becoming men. Because I know everyone says, "Oh, you're an adult at 18." No. You're an adult like 24, 25. Don't believe that. Matt and I, 2 men now. You're over the age of 30, right?
Oh, yeah, 31.
2 men that are 31 talking about this stuff. So that's where it's kind of like, hey, we know what it's like to be an adult now, to where you're at that age. It's kind of like you're still trying to figure life out. It's just not, it's just everything since he's left, but also to the fact that he says, like, he wants to either have a TV thing, which I feel like he'll get, but coaching, unless it's a bad organization, I can't see him getting another coaching job. Like, I feel like if had it been anything, it would have been that Falcons job last year, which, might be open at the end of the season, but we'll talk about that later on. But I feel bad for the kids, and I feel bad just for the overall program of North Carolina, where it's just his weird ego and his problem, and then everything with his girlfriend too. It's just like, what are you doing, pal?
Yeah, because you definitely wouldn't see him take like a defensive coordinator job anywhere. It'd be head coach or nothing. So he's definitely wouldn't take that role. But so that's wild. But yeah, speaking from another college organization getting their head coach fired, I know how it is. But granted, that was a lot different circumstance in this situation.
Yeah, I feel like Sam, the writing was almost on the wall, to where if he didn't get off to a good start, like he didn't, it's like the same thing, you see. But then here's the thing too, though. You see it, and then you see rejuvenation. Like, look at what UCLA did last weekend. Like, they beat Penn State, and now it wasn't even the head coach getting all the flowers, as the offensive coordinator, and just obviously the footage of him and his dad, just because his dad works for CBS, Neuheisel. But it is unfortunate, but at the same time too, everyone was saying the $1 million buyout because, like, hey, an NFL team can come calling. But now it's like, that's why I say, when I say I don't know who would call, whether it be a defensive coordinator position. I think it's more just the reality check of like either, hey, I've done this, but at the same time too, he can do media, or you want to just sail off into the sunset and retire. I'm sure you've made enough money to
Oh
do
yeah.
that, and then put whatever. Actually, I'm not going to say the stuff with the Patriots stuff. I'll save that for another show. But basically, just take your day in Foxborough and just move on.
Most definitely. Wow.
Yeah. Moving on to another tire fire and yes, because I that's the one thing I love with college football, how it's like if you're 9-3 or 8-4, you're considered shit. It's not like, oh, you're 6-6, you're terrible. No, it's like if you lose 3 games, it's like you're god awful. That's just a quirk of the sport I love and find interesting. But the next thing I was going to say is, though, we moved one tire fire to another as the New York Jets play the Denver Broncos in
Oh
London,
man.
England. The 0-5 New York Jets. Like, I will say this. I'm not going to admit that I was wrong, because I always was skittish on the Broncos. But they had the kind of win last Sunday in Philly that kind of makes your ears perk up, where it's like, oh, because last year my problem with Denver is you beat up on a lot of bad teams. You
Mhm.
get a signature win. It was at 1:00, sure, but Tony Romo and Jim Nantz were on the call. You were down 17-3. Sean Payton, as you know, also another person too, I feel like not getting enough credit, that Darren Rizzi, the special teams coordinator there.
Oh man.
Yeah. But with Sean Payton though, like also I didn't realize how much he hates Philly. I did not realize how much he hates Philadelphia. Like apparently he has to like take the bus around the city a bunch and stuff like that after the game. Like I don't know what the city of Philly did to him, but just that's another thing. But he's kind of showing that like, hey, because like I think with the difference between Peyton moving on from New Orleans and then, which obviously people can say what they want about, the Saints are still recovering from that, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. But just the fact that he's able to settle in and kind of do his thing, where I think it's a similar thing to Breeze with Knicks, where Sean gets his robot,
Mhm.
wires it to the way he wants. He doesn't want someone's going to fight back. Hey, you're going to go throw the ball like this. You're going to get plays like this. You're going to do this. You're going to do as I say. Yes, sir. Absolutely, sir. That's where I think Sean thrives best. And that's where his quarterback thrives best. And then to the point where I tie it in with the Broncos now, I'm not saying Bo Nix is Drew Brees, but the fact that they got that win just screams like, hey, it's like you're on that top of the world feeling now, where it's like, hey, we can go in and beat anyone, like any game we can have. Like that's something I feel like Broncos fans have been wanting for years, because obviously they've been shit since Peyton Manning retired. But long story short, with this game, just New York's in a pit of hell. It's just I don't see it getting any better. It's a terrible roster. I don't think Aaron Glenn's going to be a one and done head coach. Also, a lot of New Orleans Saints ties with this week. Just like,
It
hey, Aaron Glenn
is.
coaching, but I feel like a lot of people don't realize that, like how many people like did that, or even to the other one, I realized the draft from 2017, how well that turned out, even though I know a lot of those players are either retired or no longer with the
Mhm.
organization. But with Aaron Glenn, it's just, I feel like year 2, you really have to make significant steps. Otherwise, your head's going to be on a platter. So long story short with this game, give me the Denver Broncos. Just, boring, wake up Sunday morning, watch this game, and then bleed right into the 1:00 window.
Yeah, you're right there. Yeah, I mean, I knew my guy Sean Peasy had it in him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he, like you said, he went out and got his guy Bo Nix, and this kind of goes into that discussion that a lot of people have with these younger quarterbacks. Maybe it's beneficial to go out and get these guys who have way more experience. I've seen people even say, "Hey, maybe every single position in the NFL should have that same window, 2 years if you're a red shirt, 3 years normally."
Yeah.
Um, but quarterback, you should stay longer. And in some cases, you could say that because some of these guys just need to develop. And I mean, it's kind of rare cases that you see these guys just come on and take the world by storm. The one that just jumps off the page to me off the top of my head is Cam Newton. Um,
Yep.
and besides that, I can't just really think of one. I mean, CJ Stroud was really good his rookie year, and then year 2 he was okay. Um, it's just it's just an interesting thing to think about with these quarterbacks, and Bo Nix definitely falls into that. He had way more experience coming out, and it was definitely a plus to Sean Payton that he had all that experience. And yeah, but like you said, great win against the Eagles. It's one of those games that this team can hang their hat on. This younger team can, and as they go on and play the Jets, and then they'll play the other New York team, the Giants,
Mhm.
next week. So it's back-to-back New York for them. So I see pretty smooth sailing for them for the most part. Just looking at their schedule, they do have some tough games on the docket here and there, but they could definitely be making that push for that wild card position. Um, but yeah, the Broncos definitely. I'm with you there. R.I.P. Danny. Sorry about the Jets. Maybe Aaron Glenn figures it out at some point and turns it around. And yeah, I don't see him getting fired though off 1 year. That would not be very great.
It's or unless they the only way I can see that happening is because they're gonna win games eventually, so I feel like they would
Yeah.
have to go, like, win, like, less than 3 if they go, like, 2-15 or 1-16,
Mhm.
then, moving into next year, that's where it turns into, like, the Brian Callahan territory of,
Yeah.
"Hey, get your together." But I'm looking at the Broncos schedule at the Jets, and then obviously, like, quote marks at Jets, but then versus the Giants, versus the Cowboys. But even though the team struggled, I still look at they play Kansas City on November 16th, and then on Christmas Day, they play the Chiefs as well. And then a real banger that could be a Sunday night football game. They play versus the Chargers week 18.
Yep.
That could easily be for the division, or get this, that could be a win or go home game. That could be or even a Saturday night ESPN spot. Definitely 4 o'clock because obviously it's in Denver. But there's a couple other teams that have kind of surprised me off the hop. Actually, one that I was kind of like, hey, get off the pot for them this year. But for Denver right now, just you got to keep riding the wave. And also they have
Mhm.
some basically all their games are 4 o'clock, but I feel like that's mainly due with the fact that they're in Denver. The only game is 1 o'clock when they go to Houston. But
Yeah.
essentially, it's just beat the teams you're supposed to beat and look good against the teams that you're not favored in. That's the big thing I think for the Broncos going forward. Because like how I was saying last
Mhm.
year, they'd look good. One week they look good. I think they like curb stomp the Falcons, and then the next week they get like uh and then the next week, it's like, oh hey, we play the Chargers and we lose by like 14 points. I feel like you have to find that consistency between like winning good, but also to losing good. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, for sure.
And then Pittsburgh hosts Cleveland coming off their bye week. The Cleveland Browns, I'll say this, they're another example of a team. They're not bad. It's who they're playing on their schedule. It's basically missing opportunities. But Pittsburgh really has a chance to run away with this division now as a whole. So I'm going to stick with them. +2, only at 5.5 points. I think this is a game that the Steelers do win comfortably because I think everyone's thinking, oh, like look at like Cleveland's like this cute little thing, but now it's ultimately Dylan Gabriel where it's like, hey, buddy, this is yours. Obviously, look, Joe Flacco's no longer there, which
Mhm.
that's another situation we got to talk about. But yeah, for this game, it's pretty much Dylan Gabriel time. But also, here's the other thing for Cleveland: you got a dark cloud wearing number 4 that's hovering over their heads. Because what if he walks into the ownership's office and says, hey, doctors cleared me, I'm healthy to play?
Yep, that's true. That's true. You do have that in the back of everyone's head. Um, Man, that's going to be a weird thing for them to navigate.
If it happens,
And
if it happens. I'm just saying it could
yeah,
happen. It very well could.
yeah, the Cleveland Browns, man, I'm telling you, what an organization. Um,
They are doing the right
yeah,
things though, to where they want to get better for the future of like recouping draft assets. Obviously, trading away the pick that could have been Travis Hunter. So I applaud them for that. Where they're looking at the future, I do applaud them for that instead of trying to be in the now where you're like not good, but you're thinking you're good. Where they're just like, no, they're not, but they're not punting on there. They're like competitive. They're competitively bad. Let's call it that.
yeah, most definitely, I agree with you there. And I mean, they do have a centerpiece in Quinshawn Judkins, maybe 2 games in to build around. I
Really
mean,
just stepped in and just said, okay, just hand me the ball. I'll go run.
yeah, I mean, off 2 games, he's probably the best rookie running back out there. And this draft class had so many
Mm-hmm.
good ones that came out, and he's looking the best so far. And I know they kind of got themselves in a situation with drafting both Dylan Gabriel and Shador. That's come with so much media attention to it. I'm sure some people are tired of hearing about some of those things. And yeah, but the Browns are definitely an interesting case. With them versus the Steelers. I mean, the Steelers have been solid. I mean, Aaron Rodgers has been going out there making plays. DK Metcalf's been solid. They're just a solid team all around, and I mean they could definitely make a push for the playoffs too. Just looking at their schedule, I mean they got the Browns and then the Bengals, so um, things could definitely be looking good for them going forward. And Aaron Rodgers might get his probably like his last twilight. Trying to go all the way, but we'll see how that goes for the Steelers. But they're just consistently good. That's just the thing with the Steelers. They're just always good. Sometimes they're not maybe just amazing, but they just stay at that consistent mark. So I definitely would see the Steelers winning this.
That's exactly it. They've just been consistently good, and then for like we said for this one, it's just do what you gotta do. The game we all love to know, and the reason why you're here. This game was originally at 4:25. It got bumped to 1:00. The take I had about the Saints, we know all we joked about Tank Commander Spencer Rattler. I still don't think he's a terrible quarterback, but I don't think he's the franchise quarterback. I think a lot of people were reminded last weekend, what the team is capable of, producing on a weekly basis. Kool-Aid McKinstry had some really key plays. I know he had a key interception or two Sunday afternoon. It's just
NFC Defensive Player of the Week.
Yep. It's just the whole question's on, what happens to Chris Olave? What happens to Alvin Kamara? Do you keep those guys? Do you trade those guys? But I'll say this, though, apart from that, like there hasn't really been a game where, they're bad except for the Seattle one, where it was just like you looked and they're like, for example, like Houston, San Francisco, or not Houston, Arizona and San Fran played both teams close. Week 4 against Buffalo, same thing too. Huge spread. We have another spread like that this week, but not this game, but a different game. But they're doing all they can to be competitive, to where you're seeing the pieces now of what I think Kellen Moore is providing, to where it's like, hey, they're a good coach. I think the big thing is too is just what does the Brandon Staley defense look over the long term? Because I know Chargers fans eventually grew sick and tired of him. So that's the big question there. So I think it's just about, hey, making sure the young guys develop, making sure eventually you get your franchise quarterback in there, and then figure out, hey, what are we going to build around our franchise quarterback to be successful? And as well, I think the rest of the NFL world's put on notice again about, they have a little bit of a secret weapon that wears number 22 there named Rashid Shaheed. So, you know what? I think this, like I say, I know the Saints are 1-4. I know most of the fans think, hey, it's not our year, but at the same time too, they're showing those flashes to where it's like, hey, this is what we can be in a couple of years, kind of like what their opponent, the New England Patriots, who are 3-2 and who I have not had a chance to talk about since their wonderful, wonderful win on Sunday Night Football. But Drake Maye looked incredible and spectacular, and I'm not ready to say we're back, but it's trending in the right direction. So I feel like this game really is going to come down to which quarterback turns over the ball less. Because if Drake Maye gets himself into turnover trouble against McKinstry and those other DBs in New Orleans, it could spell trouble for the Patriots. Kind of like how he lost to the Raiders, and losing to the Steelers. It's all about not providing teams with those self-inflicted gunshot wounds on the football field. So that's where I feel like this game could really come down to play. I know there probably is going to be a lot of Patriots fans there, because I know so far for the first couple home games, San Francisco was well represented. I know the Arizona Cardinals brought a lot of fans. But I think for the Saints, it's just about keep looking strong. And then for the Patriots, it's just these are the kind of games the Patriots, especially now as a 3.5-point favorite, they have to go out there, not win convincingly, but win to cover the number, Because I feel like this game could be a little closer than I think some people are leading on, just because of how the Patriots played last week. But at the same time, too, just for both teams, ball security, but at the same time, too, coaching. But at the same time, too, it's a lot of same time twos.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All good takes there for sure. And I know on the preview show I'd called for the Saints to win 3 to 4 games. Not to toot my own horn, but I feel like every time I'm on this prediction thing and I'm on the Saints, I'm within a 1-game variance if I'm not nailing it on the head. Anything over a 1-game variance, I don't think is very good, because the difference between 1 to 2 games is like the difference between 7 wins to 9 wins, or 9 wins to 11 wins. Those are different teams. So I wouldn't really want to take any consideration for like a 2-game variance, but yeah, I mean, the Saints so far, they have looked about what I expected. where they go out there and, like you said, they had good games. They played well against some of these teams. I didn't think we were going to have a chance to win a game until about this Giants game that just happened. But the 49ers game came up and so many people were hurt. I was like, we could win this game, but that didn't really turn out that way. So the one big takeaway for me is week 1 and week 3, which is the Seattle game.
Mm-hmm.
This team seemed very undisciplined. So many penalties before the snap. They had so much trouble in week 1 at home, and then they had so much trouble when they went on the road in week 3 for their first road game. So many penalties. So my big thing is I wanted to see Kellen Moore kind of clean that up. And it seemed to have been cleaned up some. So that's a good thing. The offensive line has been having trouble, like I mentioned earlier with that stat with Spencer Rattler having 18 pressures, but he was actually able to run away because he was used to doing that in college, running away behind a bad offensive line. So it's a good thing that he's back there doing that. But I mean, we've had injuries on that offensive line, and we're starting to get healthier. Chase Young is about to come back and have his first game, I believe. It seems like he's trending towards playing, so that's a positive sign. The defense has been good for the most part. They've had their time. This past game obviously was really good, but I do wonder if that's more of a, hey, rookie quarterback not playing very well, turning it over to an NFL defense. Maybe that's what it was, and maybe we had some good plays here and there. I think a lot of it was Malik Neighbors being hurt. That's a huge weapon and a huge downgrade from them for the weapons department. I mean, Theo Johnson had their 2 touchdowns, so.
Hey, don't just steal Johnson. Canada, stand up. I also realized we skipped over a game as well, but it's Miami and the Chargers, and I'm just going to say this: the Miami are dead fish sushi, and I'm going Chargers. So, yeah, that's all I wanted to say. But I said to get your part about Theo Johnson, but also it's so Giants that like Jackson Dart's this awesome quarterback, and your star receiver's ACL just goes.
Yep, it's tragic, man, and it definitely hurts. So as far as this game with the Patriots and the Bills, it was a really good win for the Patriots. That's a statement win to beat your rival, the Bills. But that being said, with this game, if the Saints have a hope to win, they have to get turnovers. And I know you alluded to it with the turnover stuff, and I will praise Spencer Rattler. He does not turn over the ball. Is he, like you were saying, a franchise quarterback? Probably not. I tend to lean no. He's not really the reason we ever lose a game, but he's not necessarily winning us a game. Like that deep throw to Rashid Shaheed for the past 4 games, Saints fans were like, hey, where's Rashid Shaheed? And finally they connected on that deep ball. It's just it seems like he has trouble throwing with anticipation, and he needs his wide receivers to just be open. That's definitely an aspect of the game that he struggles with. But going back to the turnover thing, maybe if Ramondre Stevenson continues to put the ball on the ground maybe 2 times this go around, maybe we have a chance at winning. Maybe Drake Maye throws 1 interception. I don't really see him throwing more than 1. So our chances there would be Stevenson dropping the ball on the ground. But I mainly see the Patriots winning this because I don't really see us getting 5 turnovers again. Maybe 1, maybe 2, but no more than that. But yeah, I think Stephon Diggs could have a pretty good game, and maybe this is going to be the Travion Henderson breakout game that some people have been looking for.
So the thing with Ramondre Stevenson is look, he's in the doghouse, but you can't keep him in the doghouse for long because Antonio Gibson's done for the year. It was confirmed Monday.
Yeah.
He tore his ACL, and I believe some MCL damage as well, so his season's over. But yeah, the only thing with Travion Henderson, like he can run, but at the same time too, he's a liability in pass protection. So the Patriots are gonna have to figure out exactly what they're doing on that position offensively. But for me to now have the hope of every game they have a chance to win after what I had to go through the last few seasons, it feels really good because if you basically the Patriots thing 2 years ago, last year and 2 years ago, they won 4 games each year. The thing 3 years ago was if their defense allowed over 20 points, they were not winning the game because if they got in the defensive shootouts, they were getting in trouble. But after what they did against Miami, after they hung 40 on Carolina in a game they were supposed to hang 40, they were supposed to win and they won convincingly. And then Sunday night, winning a game you had no business winning. It's kind of that like the world's our oyster confidence to where they can go into a football stadium on any given Sunday and you know what? Hey, there's a chance that they're walking out of there with a victory, and they have a chance to win 3 in a row for the first time in 40 years on Sunday. So,
I was just looking at that.
yeah,
Yeah. And I mean, even building on that, they could even go even further than 3 in a row, just looking at their next opponents. I mean, Saints, Titans, Browns. I mean, you
call me
can't really
crazy.
line.
I think the Browns games. I think the Browns one is a trap.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely could be. But I mean, if you're looking at it, I mean, it could definitely be a trap game. But those 3 teams in a row, I think that makes for a good. We'll call it. And you might hate me for saying this, but it's going to be Pat Tober. I'm going to go ahead and say it. It's Pat Tober. So watch out. I'll knock on some wood for you, so that way I don't necessarily jinx your Pats there. Um, but if they come out of those 3 games winning, like you said, that'd be 5 in a row at that point. And going into that Falcons game, I would feel really good about it. And like you said, after going through the past couple seasons, and it feels like you guys have that quarterback that you're ready to build around. Things
Mm-hmm.
are looking up for you guys, and this could be the start of going out and winning these games that on paper you should go out and win. You should be feeling really good about them going into November if they do win all of those.
That's all I can ask for, because even like the Falcons game seems winnable just because the Falcons are such a weird team. It's that Tampa Bay
Oh
game
yeah,
the week after where I'm kind of like, we'll see what happens.
yeah.
And then, like I said earlier in the thing, we missed Miami and the Chargers, but like, does anyone really care about that game? This game's more about the Chargers just getting right. Because, like, I'm sorry, but if you blow a 17-0 lead against the Carolina Panthers, your season's kind of toasted and done.
Yeah, I'm just sad that Omari and Hampton got hurt. That was pretty sad to see. After taking him pretty high in a dynasty draft, so that was pretty upsetting to see him get hurt already. So hopefully he comes back and bounces back. 'Cause he's looking pretty solid. So that's all I can ask for.
A fun little game we got right after this. Jacksonville, the 4-1 Jacksonville Jaguars, a team going into the year where I was like, hey, they could be something. And right now, Liam Cohen's kind of showing
Yep.
he's the man for the job. I'll say this too, for as much as good as he is as a DB, Travis Hunter as a receiver, I think is the right play to do. Great coming out game for Brian Thomas Jr., who had his struggles at the beginning of the year. And you want to talk about a team winning a game they had no business winning? That's the Jacksonville Jaguars doing this to go 4-1. They could be 5-0, but Jake Browning decided to be Superman in that game against the Bengals. And then you have Seattle, where Sam Darnold doesn't look all that bad. You unfortunately saw
Mhm.
it firsthand a few weeks ago, but I'm gonna go with Jacksonville in this one, just because making that long trip from the Pacific Northwest to the Southeast, the fact that it's still pretty hot in Florida, if I had to guess. So if I had to put
Probably,
my
yeah.
money where my mouth is, I think this is a game the Jags have. They go to 5-1. I think Seattle's good, not great. And this is a game really for Jacksonville to separate themselves, in the AFC conversation, to be in that playoff mix.
Yeah, I can imagine Jacksonville's still kind of hot because here in Arkansas it's still in the 80s,
Yeah.
sometime in the 90s. So yeah, um, like you said, statement win by the Jaguars going in and beating the Chiefs, and like you said, Liam Cohen definitely looking like the best first year head coach out here, and with a team that's definitely had their struggles, their ups and downs. Sometimes they'll be really good, sometimes they'll be really bad, and it's just mainly getting that franchise to be consistent. It's been kind of interesting to see what the Travis Hunter experiences has been like. And Brian Thomas Jr. definitely had his struggles, and hopefully he can continue to build off of that game that he just had. So,
Travis Etienne
yeah,
also has looked pretty well for them as well.
yeah, he has, he's looked pretty solid. Um,
He also Liam Cohen. Sorry to cut you off, but Liam Cohen also, I feel like he's doing Trevor right, where he's like, oh, Trevor does this really well. Well, we're just going to do this for the entire game.
yeah, for sure. Um, I could see the Jaguars having kind of a lull week after winning such a big game, because sometimes that just happens. The team goes out and wins a big game,
That's what worries me about
and
New England, to be honest with you.
yeah, it can be a lull, but as long as you don't turn over the ball more than 3 times, I think you'll be okay this week.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I'm just saying, like,
um,
you have that and
yeah,
everything like that, but with this game though too, they had the huge comeback, and then they got to flip the script from Kansas City to Seattle. So I can definitely see that too. I just think all the cards play in Jacksonville's favor, right?
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, like Seattle, like you said, I kind of saw it firsthand. And granted, Seattle didn't really have to do much. It was the special teams. I mean, you when you alluded to Sam Rizzi earlier, that's why I kind of laughed because I said, "Man, the Saints special teams have not been good. Blake Grupe's been missing kicks. Some of the kick coverage has been really bad." Um, but yeah, personally, I think I'm going to go with Seattle here. Like you said, Sam Darnold's been solid. He's kind of been proving it right for him getting that contract. And I know sometimes you see a quarterback really shine in a certain offensive scheme and a system after being a reclamation project, but that seemed to be a trend here with Sam Darnold, and then with Baker Mayfield, of course. And then, of course, Jackson Smith and Jigba has been really, really good.
Really
So I
emerging
think,
as their one. Really
oh
emerging
yeah,
as their one.
most definitely. So I think I'm going to ride with the Seahawks on this one, but it should be a close game, um, and we'll see where the Jaguars go from here.
The 4-1 Indianapolis Colts are taking on the now 2-3 Arizona Cardinals. The Colts right now, and Shane Steichen would be my coach of the year if I ever got a vote from the Associated Press. Just the fact that like everyone thought he was going to be terrible. I was like, his name's on the hot seat. He's going to get fired. Him and his former DC in Philadelphia, Jonathan Gannon, both going head to head, and the Cardinals are going in the complete opposite direction as the Colts. Just Daniel Jones looking great for the Colts. It's amazing what happens when you get good coaching around him
Mm-hmm.
and some decent playmakers. And then you have a Cardinals team where I think the wheels are slowly falling off to where they're going to be looking for a new head coach in January. And the other one too, um, I think in the next couple of years or so, Kyler Murray is not going to be there anymore. I think he's going to have a new home probably by like 2027 or 2028, whenever the Cardinals can get out, unless they want to do the Russell Wilson bite the bullet. But I don't think they will do that. I think they'll wait till there's an out, which I think is either after the 26 season or after the 27 season. But I can definitely see a new, not GM, but I can definitely see a new head coach there in 2026.
Man, just bringing up the Cardinals again just makes me remember just what happened to them this past Sunday. Talk about an embarrassing loss. I mean, everything that they did in
He
that
holds onto the ball.
game.
That game's over. He holds onto the ball. That game is
Yes,
over.
from the running back just tossing the ball away before he crosses the touchdown. Such a bush league mistake just doing that. Um, if I was a head coach, I would be so infuriated with that. From the center snapping the ball and hitting Kyler Murray in the face. I mean, they just had such a meltdown of a game, and I mean, apparently that's what it takes for the Titans to get a W. Um, so talk about kind of a branching path here with two different franchises. Um, and with the Colts, like you said, that's another reclamation project right there. Daniel Jones, he's looked fantastic. I mean, things haven't worked out with Anthony Richardson with them. Huge project player, obviously. And people have been saying that forever. But I mean, they went out, got Daniel Jones, and he's been solid. And like you said, sometimes it just takes a good coaching scheme and having the right system around someone, and it's just paid off wonders. I'm definitely going to go with the Colts here. You would really like to see the Cardinals win after just such an embarrassing display that they put on with all the mistakes that they had last week with losing to the Titans. But the Colts just look really solid, and you just want to see if they can keep building on that.
So I have a saying around here that I would rather lose money betting against this team than lose money betting on this team. And that's how I view the Arizona Cardinals right now. Like I would rather lose money putting my money on the Indianapolis Colts just because I look at last Sunday. Hey, you're a huge favorite against the Raiders. What did you do? You went out there and
Destroyed them.
you got the belt. You got the belt out and just said, "Hey, 60 minutes, we're going to give it to you. We're just going to whip you for 60 minutes." There's another expression and I just learned last week what it means, but I'm going to explain that off air. But that's where I view the Colts, where I'm like, okay, they're serious. I also do think the Anthony Richardson thing is proof now that I don't think coaches and GMs are no longer going to take first round pick chances on reclamation projects. I just don't think
No.
that's going to happen. I think this is basically the proof of like, we're no longer doing this. We are just going to, hey, We'll take that in rounds 3, 4, and like late day 2, day 3. But day 1, I think you're not taking those quarterbacks anymore because if Anthony Richardson didn't work out, Daniel Jones didn't work out, Shane Steichen and Chris Ballard would be having very different conversations about those two right now. But
Oh yeah.
I just think I just see things getting worse before they get better with the Cardinals. I'm sorry. They played okay against Seattle on the Thursday night. They then play but the way you lose to a Titans team the way you did,
Mm-hmm.
it just like I look at them and I'm like, what are you doing? I'm like, who are you? So that's how I view that. So that's all I got to say there because we have another game to get to where we have another team in a very different situation, but it's more injury related to where I know people are starting to talk about John Harbaugh's job. I know people are saying, oh, this and this. The Ravens are 1-4. They lose this game against the Rams. Their season's over. I just think that's the thing, where and you punt on the rest of the year. Trading Odafe Owe, I understand because I feel like it's just one of those ones where they're like, hey, you would have got a comp pick for him because he probably wasn't going to re-sign in Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
But at least now you get a confirmed draft pick. I think it was like a 4th or a 5th or a 6th, somewhere in that range they got for him.
Yeah, I think it was a 4th, maybe.
So you have that with Baltimore now where it's kind of like, hey, we're hurt. This isn't our year. We'll see where things go, though, to where next year it's going to be, hey, we got to wake up and do something because I think the longer they don't, the more of a chance of Lamar Jackson leaving, which is starting to get more traction, could become a possibility to where he's going to be that guy, becoming the ring chaser, kind of like what Kevin. Feel like he's like the Kevin Durant right now of the NFL world, where it's like he's good and he has the talent. They just haven't been able to put the pieces together to get to a championship level, but he is an MVP caliber talent,
That would be interesting to see if someone of his caliber really walks because it's very rare that you see like these younger free agent quarterbacks go out that are playing
I
at a high level.
I think it's also just the whole, hey, this isn't working out. Kind of like how,
Yeah.
like, why I say Kevin Durant, where I'm like not saying Lamar's going to go form a super team, but he's kind of like just realizing, hey, Oklahoma City. But then say if there's another team where, let's throw Miami or Atlanta out there. Say, hey, in a few years, Tua doesn't work out. Miami feels like they have a team where they're ready to go and they need a quarterback. Lamar, I believe, is from Dade County as well. Hey, we want you to lead our team. You can be the man to beat Josh Allen. The same thing with the Atlanta Falcons too, where by that time,
Oh
they,
God.
I know, I'm
I
saying
don't want to
both our
imagine him on
teams.
the Falcons.
I'm just giving examples though, like the
For
Falcons, where
sure.
it's like, hey, we've got Drake London, Kyle Pitts is finally looking good, Bijan
Yeah.
Robinson's one of the better, probably one of the best running backs in the NFL right now. We
It's a
get a
heck of a pick.
quarterback in here that's just pouring gasoline on the fire. So it's situations like that where it's like when Tom Brady left to go to Tampa, where it was, hey, he wanted to go to a team that's going to win. That's what I think Lamar would do. He would want to leave for a team where he's like, hey, I can win here.
Yeah. You could definitely see that. And I mean, these situations are so odd because I mean, people feel like the team is just, and granted, they just haven't really put it together in the playoffs with this regime. I say regime like I mean the head coach and the organization, everything, but I just mean this current roster of players that they have.
Yeah.
They just haven't seemed to really get it together when it comes to the playoffs and make that push, even though they have this guy who's won multiple MVPs now. But these injuries just stack up, and sometimes you just can't overcome them. I mean, even with Lamar Jackson being hurt, it's just something you can't overcome. And I was just looking at the stats because I never really went and looked at this game. And gosh, Cooper Rush, man, that was not good. Just looking at that stat line. But yeah, they're definitely in danger for this season. But you really do wonder about all these questions that people ask. Um, Especially with people kind of calling for his job for Harbaugh's job. I mean, if I was a Ravens fan, I would definitely not be worried about my head coach at all, just due to his track record and everything, and just like all the injuries out there. Because I mean, if Dennis Allen can almost get the injury excuse, then of course this guy needs to.
The other thing I think with him as well is just people realizing, oh, we're not going to get over this. John Harbaugh's had to deal with just like numerous, just, hey, I could have had a chance. Oh, but I had Tom Brady and Peyton Manning and Ben Roethlisberger I had to go up against. Now it's, oh,
Oh,
hey, we can't get past Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes, So it's one of those things where it's not the total, it's not the end of the world. I still think he gets leeway with this.
oh
I just
yeah.
feel like, too, this could be, and I'm going to use a basketball analogy. It's kind of like what Brad Stevens did in Boston, where I could see him leaving to go to the front office, but he's not going to leave the organization. But he's also, too, everyone's saying, oh, what's the mutual parting of ways? They would have to be terrible, I think, for that to happen. It's kind of the same thing. How everyone's saying with Buffalo, where it's like, oh, when's Sean McDermott going to go? I think it would have to take a lot more than a bad season where injuries are involved for, him to leave. That's just how I feel about this. But at the end of the day with this game, I'm just going with the Rams. The Rams have looked really good this year. Rams, I've always said, are in that Super Bowl window. I know people don't want to think it, but I think that's what it is. And that's all I got to say about this. But with Baltimore, it's just, you know what? Hey, you punt this season. It is what it is. You recoup
Mhm.
draft picks. And guess what? Next year, those draft picks can come in right away and help you get to
Yeah,
where you want to go.
most definitely.
As I wait for the ticker for the next game to come. Oh, right. I remember what it is. The Carolina Panthers are taking on the Dallas Cowboys. I don't want to say Dak is MVP just yet, but he's looking really good. The Dallas Cowboys just need to figure out their defense, which, they had figured out their defense, but then they decided to do a
Ha.
little trade. Um, But Dallas is going to do the same thing they always do. They're going to beat up on bad teams. You know how we were saying earlier with teams like Jacksonville, this could be a comeback to earth game. I think that's what this is for the Carolina Panthers. I'm not saying Dallas goes in there and whoops them, but I think Dallas wins this game by like at least a touchdown because I think it's just what Carolina is on defense versus what. And because I feel like, too, another sneaky over game. I believe the numbers are around like 46, 47. So you want a little over to play with. This is it. But I think with this game right here, these are the games Dallas wins. Like Dallas will win this game, but then they'll lose to the Philadelphia's, the Kansas City. Like maybe you won't see but Kansas City, but like those kind of like elite level teams.
I definitely agree with you from that point of view. They definitely took advantage of their Jets game last week. Like you said, with Dak looking good. Defense has been pretty suspect. I mean, the Bears even went out and had a really good game against them.
49 and a
Um,
half, by the way.
49 and a half. Yeah. I mean, I could definitely see it. Yeah. And I mean, George Pickens, they should be glad that they got him. Because without him, it would be pretty scary for them. Javonte Williams, I mean, that's a reclamation project at running back. He's looked really solid for them. Um, so they definitely kind of recouped the running back room there a little bit. Um, but yeah, I don't really have too much to add to that.
Rico Dowdles look nice for Carolina, though.
Yeah, he did have a good game. For sure. He was going out there and balling. Um, and then of course the Panthers have been so weird. I mean, they had that game where I said LOL Falcons because the Falcons lost 0-30. That was so random to me. And then they obviously took advantage of the Dolphins game. So they look about kind of what we kind of thought they would be. Just an okay team, winning some games here and there, and kind of getting a little bit better from last season, and kind of building on that momentum that they had like last season, where people felt a little bit better about them coming into the season. But the outlook on them early last season wasn't very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then also too, if you see me reacting crazy, it's because I'm like triple watching right now on my TV. I've got playoff baseball on as the Jays try to take down the Yankees, and I've got the Maple Leafs home opener on my phone right here, and I'm podcasting right here. So
Ha.
we got a lot going on in the Griffin household tonight. But yeah, no, with a game like this, just Carolina is going to show signs, but they're still going to be bad. They're not going to make the playoffs, but I think it just isn't enough for Dave Canales to keep his job just because you have that unpredictable powder keg of an owner in David Tepper.
For sure. For sure.
That's the big question I have. Las Vegas taking on Tennessee in a game where if you have a barf bag handy, I think you'd rather
Ha.
stare into the barf bag than watch this game. I'm going to go Vegas just because they're the seemingly better team. And I think it's the same sort of narrative you were giving earlier, just a comeback to earth game because Tennessee's not going to win games like that every week. And I think what the offensive line for Tennessee is. There is a killer on the one side of the ball for Vegas that can have his way with that offensive line. So yeah, I got the Raiders in this one getting a win because I still think the Raiders are going to be frisky, but I don't think they're going to be like this powerhouse. Like not
Yeah,
powerhouse, but they're going to be frisky, but they're not going to. It's like the same thing as like like Carolina, where it's like they'll win some games, but they're going to lose a lot of games.
yeah, for sure. Like you said, with the Titans, with their offensive line, and Max Crosby's definitely going to dominate that. That's going to be pretty much the only kind of thing there for them. Yeah, I don't really have much to say about the Raiders and Titans at this point. Um, you do wonder where these teams are going to be going as they continue on. And hopefully the Raiders look to bounce back after that really bad loss to the Colts last week. And maybe they hope that Geno Smith kind of shows why they went out and got him. But yeah, I know Tom Brady is definitely thinking on his investment and how to make the most of it at this point, I'm sure.
I know there's a lot of people out there with Tom who have a problem with him doing both. I only do when you see the footage of him in the booth, like in the coach's booth, where it's like, oh, hey, you're in the booth for Fox, but then you're in the announce booth and you're on the field with the like when you're doing games for Fox. I think it's like eventually it's gonna have to pick a lane, which I feel like he probably, for as great as that Fox paycheck is, I still think it would be better to have everything just with being an owner. I think there's just a little more money there to liquid your assets. So ultimately, we'll have to see what happens, but that's pretty much it for this game right here because we have a much better game to talk about. We have Tampa Bay taking on San Francisco with the Mac Jones Resurgence Act.
Man.
And a Tampa Bay team who's looking pretty damn good this year at 4-1 as well. Their only loss to the Philadelphia Eagles. And you have San Francisco where, look, the defenses they're weird where they're hurt, but they still got it done against the Rams. Like they were playing their B squad. Like they didn't have Ricky Pearsall. They didn't have George Kittle. They didn't have Brock Purdy. They didn't have Nick Bosa. They didn't have Jawan Jennings. Still went out there and won. So I'm going to say San Francisco here just because as the ticker comes back, San Francisco is the underdog in this game. And then I just think, like we were saying earlier, how like with Tampa Bay, I think, but for Tampa Bay, though, this is a show me something game because I know Tampa Bay's won some good games to start the year. But when Philadelphia came into your house and, you won that pretty close, so I think for San Francisco's shown me that they can do it against anyone. And then for Tampa Bay, it's, hey, what can you do in this situation? That's what it is for Tampa Bay. Like I want to see the Buccaneers, also the Buccaneers too, coming off that just miraculous win as well against the Seahawks as well. Having to travel up to the West Coast, now coming back east. So I can see Tampa winning this, but I'm going to give the edge to San Francisco here.
Man, the 49ers, like I said,
they just find a way. They find a way.
I think we alluded to this. It seems like the 49ers will have a year where they're really good and then they're kind of mid because they're hurt. This year, they're hurt, but actually winning these games. You do
Which
wonder
is almost just as dangerous.
Yeah, that is dangerous because you think about when they actually get back on track. And I mean, so far though, they beat the Seahawks week 1, and that's when they were more healthy, of course. And then they beat my Saints and they beat the Cardinals. And they played the Jags close, and then they just beat the Rams. So that's a good win. I'll give them that.
In their second home stadium.
Yeah. You do wonder with the quality of their opponents if the schedule just shook out in a favorable position for them. That being said, I think with them having to still have a deficiency but due to injuries and actually playing a really good team in the Buccaneers, I think the Buccaneers are probably going to take advantage of that. And take what could have been a really close game and I'm going to say not really close game. Cause I still think it still could be really close, but definitely getting a win in a game that they maybe could have lost. And Egbuka's been looking
Oh
really
my God.
good. What a rookie pick for them.
Mike Evans is
Um,
going to retire soon, and it's just like, hey, we got this new guy. Um,
yeah,
you almost want to laugh
it's
at it.
it's wild. I mean, it's almost like the going from Aaron Rodgers or from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers, just in wide receiver form almost. Um, it's crazy how it goes like that sometimes.
Yeah, it's just
Um,
it's so funny with that one. I know I've been cutting you off a bit, but that one's just funny because it's like, hey, like when they drafted Ibuka, I was like, huh, because they got who they got, but then they also got Jalen McMillan last year.
yeah,
And then all of a sudden, like Emeka Ibuka, but I'm like, no, they're planning for post Mike Evans. That's what they're doing. Like, because like Mike Evans, like, yes, he's only the same age as us. He's 31 or 32, but they're focusing basically on like, hey, this is what we want to do after they're looking at it. Chris Godwin, even getting him back too. Um, Bucky Irving's hurt, but Rashad White, it's just, and then I'll say this too, Baker Mayfield, like you got to pay him soon, otherwise you're going to be backing up a Brinks truck because that man is having a renaissance of a career with the Buccaneers. He
oh
was
yeah,
left
it's
for dead.
insane. It's insane. And thinking back on it, when Tom Brady left the Bucks, I was just like, okay, the Bucks are going to go back to being mid. But I mean, honestly, they had a really good roster around them. I just didn't think that they were going to actually translate because they continuously had these struggles before Tom Brady getting there. But I mean, Baker came in and has been good for them. I would like Baker more if he wasn't a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. Um, but yeah, it's been a solid renaissance for him, as you said. But yeah, I got the Bucks in this one. But shout out to the 49ers for going out there and winning these games with all the talent deficiency and all of their talent being hurt. That's definitely kudos to them for being 4-1 at this point with this laundry list of injuries because you can see what that can do to a team with like the Ravens that we just talked about.
Jason Light too is just one of the better GMs in all of football. Like if you look at like what he's done, basically, you alluded to the post Tom Brady stuff where you're like, oh, they're going to be bad again. Kind of like, the Patriots went through their lull after Brady left, but they were like, no, we're going to regroup. We're going to refocus. Hell, they almost went to the NFC Championship game that first year. They took Detroit pretty far. I know they lost, I think, by like, it was a one-score game. I think it was like it was a touchdown or it was an 8-point game, but they held their own against Detroit that year where Detroit was destined to go all the way. So you got to give your flowers, you got to give your roses to the Bucks, and just we'll see what happens. But like I said, for this game here, I think Tampa can win. I'm just going San Francisco because it's like hey, San Francisco's just been able to do it, and Tampa Bay, when they had the chance to do it, that's the game they lost to the Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
Green Bay and Cincinnati is a 14-point spread. My only question here is I don't care that it's Joe Flacco quarterback. I think that's a very desperation move. But my question to you is, do the Packers cover the number?
You know, looking at the Packers and coming into the season after that Week 1 win, everyone was like, "Oh my God, the Packers look so good." Then they go out and beat the Commanders too. But they came in a weird spot the 2 weeks before they had this break here. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, losing to the Browns, so they already just lost to Joe Flacco, and now Joe Flacco is going to come back and play him again. That's pretty odd, especially when you're not in the same division. That's an odd situation. Um, and then
It's like, hey, you got
Packers.
Micah Parsons another time this year after you thought you wouldn't see him ever again.
I know, right? And then the Packers and Cowboys, honestly, that was a shootout and ended in a tie game. So that's one of those where you just feel weird about it. So I'm sure they felt pretty weird going into that break. And now they're going to come in and play the Bengals, which that's another team that's kind of on that injury thing. That's definitely a theme for the season. So many injuries across the league. It's wild to see. Um, and they go out, and like you said, I feel like that's a desperation play as well, going out and getting Joe Flacco just to kind of make something of this season. Maybe the head coach is feeling kind of some pressure to do something, even though he has his quarterback out. And um, yeah, um, that's a good question though. Do they cover? You said 14 points, right?
Yes, sir.
Um, hmm. I'm gonna take right under. Packers are gonna win by 13.
I think we learned our lesson with the Saints game where it's like you don't take spreads that high because you have to remember these are professionals. Like when you see
Exactly.
when you see like Oklahoma against Kansas State, and it's like not Kansas State, Kent State, where it was like 44.5 points. It's like, oh, there's a reason for that, because of how good Oklahoma is to Kent State.
Yeah.
You still have to remember that in football, the difference between the best and the worst is a lot smaller. Like, look at college football last year, where the playoff, half the games in the playoffs were blowouts.
Mm-hmm.
Like that first round. I remember like Tennessee went into Ohio State, got completely destroyed. I remember SMU got killed by Penn State. I know, the same thing too. I know Notre Dame just ran over Indiana. So that's where it's like in college, the good programs are bet. It's like that. But with a game like this, I'm still going to go to the Bengals to cover the number because of what we've seen from Green Bay, because they've been good, but they've, like they played Dallas. That was a close game. And then they played another close game as well they lost to the Browns, but they very well could. It's just, in the world of professional sports, you can't expect a team to win by a 2-touchdown lead when they're expected to,
No.
that's just my thing here. And then we got Sunday night. We have another banger of a game with the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Detroit Lions. Going to keep this one short and sweet. The Lions are the team everyone thought they were going to be. Week 1 was a massive overreaction, because look what
Mm-hmm.
they've done. I just want to look. If you look what they've done in the last 4 games, took care of Chicago, took care of the Ravens, took care of the Browns, took care of the Bengals. They are. I'm going to wait for the ticker to come back. They're a 2.5-point underdog in this game. I know Kansas City's had their moments. There's a very good chance this game gets ugly for the Chiefs if the Chiefs have played the way they have. I think the Chiefs essentially have to play a perfect game to win this game. Patrick Mahomes has to take off the glasses and put the cape on and be Superman. Because I've seen
Yeah.
people saying that where it's like, hey, you've been Clark Kent. Being Clark Kent in this game will not win you this football game. And the other thing too with Detroit, that defense is back to being what it was. You can say what you want about coaching. And also the other thing with the Chiefs as well, their defense hasn't looked up to snuff. Detroit's has one of the best offensive lines in the league. And, there's some weapons on Detroit that are killing it. Sam Laporta's having a great year. David Montgomery's having a great year. Jahmyr Gibbs is awesome. Amon-Ra St. Brown's awesome. And they also got your boy from Arkansas playing really well in Tasala. So,
Oh yeah.
I think Sunday night's a game where everyone's like, the Chiefs are going to like rebound. The Chiefs are going to look good. No, Lions are going to roar, and they're going to roar loud in this one.
Yeah. The Lions have been really solid. They're maintaining that consistency. They're kind of answering those questions that you had for them coming into this year with
Still have the same head coach and same players.
with losing 2 of their key coaches. But like you said, same players are still there, and they've maintained that level of play. The Chiefs, if they lose this one, they're looking on the wrong side of things. I mean, they've definitely had some struggles here, and I mean, at the end of the day, this is what happens when you build these young teams, and after a while, you're paying all these different players. It gets hard to replace these people, and I feel like the Chiefs have just never replaced Tyreek Hill. They've never gotten that guy, and they've tried with
Oh, they
multiple
did.
different
He just
players.
decided to street race and almost kill people, and he's suspended right now.
Yeah, there's that too. Um, so you just wonder how they're gonna respond. Um, that being said, I'm kind of here for seeing what they're gonna do once they lose to the Lions, because the Lions have just looked solid. So I'm thinking I'm gonna be rocking with you and going with the Lions on this
It's just I just look at that number and I'm like, why? Because we have to remember too, when the Chiefs were at their pinnacle, who was it on opening night a couple years ago that went into Arrowhead and beat the Chiefs? It was the Lions. Remember when the Lions were having their like, hey, we're coming out? Because the other thing with this
one.
game too is that the Chiefs defense has just not looked the same as it has. I think the defense is getting figured out. I think too, like we say too, Dan Campbell has that same mentality where it's like, hey, doubt us. Ever since they've gotten doubted, they've just been going out there and just laying it on teams. They don't care about the score. They don't care about running up the clock. They're going to go out there and kill you. And that's pretty much all I got to say about that. The over-under for this one is 52.5, though, which I would avoid just because I feel like every time you expect that number to hit. It doesn't.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect that either.
Yeah. And then this week, actually, we have 2 games on Monday night. The first one is called the Matt Beast and Griff Hate Watch game as the Atlanta Falcons take on the Buffalo Bills. I'm going to keep this one short and sweet. I know they're coming off the bye week, but the Bills need to get right game, and they need it really bad. That's literally the only thing I have to say about this game. I love beating the Bills. They have their bye week coming up, I believe, after this week. So they need a get right game. They need a game where it's, oh, there's the Buffalo Bills everyone expected to see. And I think we get that Monday night in Atlanta.
Yeah, they definitely do need that because you alluded to it, how they have kind of been playing around. I mean, the Saints game, even, they kind of, and this has been a theme for the Saints, they start horrifically, but then they kind of play back and then makes it a competitive game. That's how that Bills game was. And, I should have thought the Bills should have smoked us a lot more than they did, but they didn't because they were kind of playing down to us. And then they just lost to the Patriots. So they definitely need that win. And I think the Atlanta Falcons are a good get right team, honestly.
Everyone thinking that
Yeah,
Atlanta's going to come in and everyone's like, hey, Atlanta can not give it to them, but like Atlanta can challenge the Bills. Like, oh, look what happened to them against the Saints and the Saints and the Patriots. But then it turns into one of those games where it's just like, for as much truth as that can provide, you got to remember Buffalo's still Buffalo for a reason. I think that's what we get from them on Monday night.
yep, most definitely. And if the Falcons somehow pull off a win, that'll be a big win for them, and maybe they could build off of that. But I don't want to see that. So.
That'll be a massive red flag for the Buffalo Bills if they lose this game.
Massive.
It'll be a massive red flag. Like Buffalo is a 4.5 point favorite, so I would also take that number.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's the same thing too with the Commanders and the Bears. I kind of like what I've seen from Chicago in their last couple games. It's just we were reminded Sunday afternoon of a Commanders team with a healthy Jaden Daniels is really good at football, and I'm not going to ignore that. And I'm just waiting for this game because the over-under on times the Hail Mary is going to be played is like 20. It's kind of like whenever Kansas City and Buffalo play each other, we're always just like, oh, hey, remember when these two teams met in that epic playoff game like 3 seasons ago? It's going to be the same thing. It's like, oh, hey, here's the moment that Tyreek Stevenson did this, or here's what happened with this. So, that's kind of the same angle with this one where Commanders win. I don't know how close it is or not. I don't really like the number, but the Commanders are going to win. It's the same thing too. Like with Falcons and Bears, it's like, hey, show me. Show me something for those games. But ultimately, I'm going Buffalo and I'm going Washington.
I definitely agree with you there. With the Commanders taking a W over the Bears. The Bears just won. They're coming off two wins straight, so that's good for them. And they definitely want to see if they can continue to build on that. With Dennis Allen and his crew on defense, they've been kind of suspect in some parts. And you just want to see that offense and that Ben Johnson led team continue to build on what they're doing with all of their pieces. And then if they could somehow pull off a win against the Commanders, that'd be a big win for them going forward into their next game against the Saints, which should be a W for them, you would think. But I think I'm going to lean with you and go with the Commanders on this one just because they're just a solid team overall. And having that healthy Jaden Daniels is going to be definitely very beneficial for them.
That's exactly it. It's just we were kind of reminded of like what they were because I've always said this to the Commanders going into the year where I'm like, they're going to be a good team. It's just I don't know if they're going to be that team, where like last year where they win 12 games. Like I still think they'll be in the playoff mix. It's just I need to see them pull off some wins before, we start buying that like, hey, they could repeat last year's hype or even win the division potentially because I still think that door is open because they play who do they play? They play Philadelphia like 2 of the last 3 weeks of the year. Like the last 3 weeks of the year, they play them twice. So they just got to keep winning games and winning conference games as well because these are the kind of games for them that are going to matter come December. You lose this game,
Definitely.
it's going to bite you in the butt come December. So that's all I have to say about that.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but Matt, to you, may the best man win on Sunday, as it is the Patriots Saints game. It's going to be a fun one Sunday. Unfortunately, the announced team's not the best with Spiro Ditas and Adam Archuleta, but you get the cards dealt, what you get dealt. And yeah, I'm not sure if it's a blackout game for the Saints or not, but I know the Patriots are rocking their all white uniforms for this one. Because I know sometimes when there's a lot of away fans coming in, the Saints will say to fans, hey, it is a blackout game. It is a game where we want you in black and gold, and we want the dome loud. So that's all I expect Sunday. I expect a pretty good game, and I expect a loud Superdome.
Oh yeah, it should be, and it was good to hear them last week. So hopefully stuff continues and we keep on building on that. But yeah, it should be a fun one.
Absolutely. If folks, we keep making the push towards 400. We're only a few episodes away. The guest is actually locked down for episode 400. It is a really good one. Episode number 397 coming tomorrow night. Britton Gray and I get you ready for week number 19 in the CFL season. Have a good weekend, everybody. And also all my Canadians, happy Thanksgiving.